Hi guys, I'm Judy Elmore and I'm a freelance editor with Black Wolf Editorial Services. Over the past several weeks, we've been talking about different aspects of the editing. We've been talking about the editing tricks I use myself, show versus tell, pacing, depth of perception, a variety of different aspects. Today, I want to talk about working with other people, in particular, critique partners and beta readers. As a reminder for the stages of editing, you have your concept through to your first draft, and then of course you have your developmental editing, which is where you're looking at all the various different aspects of your story construction, your pacing, character development, a whole bunch of other bits and pieces associated with it. And then of course you've got your copy editing phase, looking at your wording choices, punctuation, your grammar, a whole bunch of other aspects again. And of course proofreading leading into stores. But the particular groups that I'm talking about today that we're going to be looking at are the critique partners involved in the developmental editing phase, as well as the beta readers in the copy editing phase. They're two totally different types of people, and because of the fact that they are in the different phases of the writing. So let's take a look at the differences. As I said before, critique partners are involved in the early developmental stage of your writing. So they are looking at your story either in a partial, so they might be looking at it from a scene by scene basis, or they could be looking at it as a full, but they're looking at these various different aspects associated with your developmental side of your story. They will be other writers or technical advisors. Now, these will be subject matter experts. There might be a particular portion of your story that is maybe you're not an expert on in terms of the subject matter, and so you've actually gone to somebody to say, hey, can you double check to make sure I've got this correct? An example for my own writing, I was writing a scene of a fighter pilot and how he was moving the plane, and I wasn't even sure if the plane could do the maneuver that I was talking about. So I sent it off to a fighter pilot and said, hey, can you check this out and tell me whether this maneuver that I've described in the manuscript is even possible? And of course, he came back and said, yep, it's possible, but man, your main character, he needs to get laid. But hey, that's okay. That's a whole different story. Your critique partners, regardless whether you've gone with other writers or you're looking at subject matter experts, their purpose is to look at where you are weak within your manuscript. Identify either the weak writing or the weak subject matter aspect side. Your writers will help you develop the narrative and the story and looking at the developmental side of the writing, where your technical advisors will help you with the nitty-gritty associated with your subject matter. Beta readers are different because they come in at a different phase. They're there to provide feedback on your full manuscript. They can be other writers, avid readers, or your friends and family. I would never have a friends and family as your critique partner unless you've got someone who is utterly, brutally honest at your side and is also the writer themselves. Now, if you're going to have friends and family reading your manuscripts before they go out the door, use them as beta readers because their job is to give you reader reactions. Did they like the story? If not, why not? Is there any aspect of the story that they didn't understand? And so you need to go back and take a look at either clarifying what is actually described or maybe putting in some of that backstory that you took out during the developmental editing phase and putting it back in. Was there any particular aspect of their story that they did enjoy, that they loved in particular? Would they be interested in reading more of the world? These are all the reactions that you need to understand before you send your manuscript out the door. You can also get what they call sensitivity readers. Now, this is a special breed of beta reader. Basically, what they do is they look at the subject matter, but how you've treated that subject matter. So, for example, if there's anything that could be potentially controversial, then you need to understand whether anything that you've said or have done could ignite a storm that you really don't need. And that's what your sensitivity readers are for. Okay, so what is the desirable traits of a critique partner? Remember, the critique partners are the early stage ones. Well, a critique partner needs to be able to offer insight into your manuscript that you wouldn't be able to obtain any other way. We're a bit close to our stories and we need that other set of eyes, because sometimes they'll just actually allow you to just go, hey, are you aware that you changed the color of your eyes here of this character and there's actually no reason for it because there's no plot point for it? Ah, good point. Those sorts of information. It's a bit more, obviously, but you need that added insight. They need to be willing to tear your work apart, not your soul, your work. You're going to a critique partner to ask where your story is weak and where it can be improved. They need to be willing to tear it apart and say, hey, you need to work on this character over here. He's a bit flat and I want to be able to feel a little bit more empathy towards him, so that way when he goes and he's dead, you actually feel maybe a bit more emotionally connected to that character. You know, that's the sort of information you need. Your critique partners will have some sort of working knowledge of the genre or the subject matter itself. Remember, critique partners can be other writers or technical advisors. So depending on what questions you've got for them and what information they're giving back will be whether they have the working knowledge of the genre or the subject matter. Hey, maybe they have both. You don't want to send, say, a Mills and Boons romance book to somebody who is an avid thriller reader, because the two have got completely different beat points. They work in different ways. Unless your thriller writer just ironically happens to adore Mills and Boons books, they're not going to necessarily be able to help you. Critique partners also need to be reliable and provide that feedback in a timely manner based on the time frame that you have agreed upon. You don't want to be waiting around for their comments. You want to be able to just get on with it. They need to be willing to read and reread your work again and again. You're going to tweak it and you're going to send it back to them and go, hey, does this fix the issue that you were highlighting? They also need to be able to communicate in the same language as you. If you speak only Spanish, which if you're speaking only Spanish and watching this video, okay, but say you did, or say you come across a critique partner that's all they speak. Unless you are fluent in Spanish, you're not going to understand any of their comments. So you need to understand and communicate in the same language. Beta readers are a bit different. A beta reader needs to just enjoy books, preferably in the genre that you're writing, but not necessarily so. Okay, remember what I said before. You really don't want to send a Mills and Boons romance type book to a thriller reader, unless they happen to be, avid fan. But you never know, actually. You never know. You might actually get another fan. They may actually go, actually, it's not what I thought it was, and that's pretty good. The beta readers need to be able to provide negative feedback as well as positive feedback. You need to know why things aren't working, as well as what is working. They may not be able to give you the full reasons on how to fix it or give you any suggestions on what to do, but knowing that a particular section or a particular passage is just not working, that's information you need to know. And if they stop reading your manuscript for whatever reason, you need to know where they stopped, because maybe there's something at that point that just isn't helping the reader carry on. Like a critique partner, beta readers need to be reliable with timely feedback based on the time frame that you agreed upon, and they need to be able to communicate in the same language as you. You need a team of people to help you with your manuscript. You cannot do it alone. You're going to want a team of critique partners and beta readers. Everyone's going to have a different set of eyes, different perspectives, and they're going to be different people for different viewpoints, are going to be better for certain stories. I, for example, would not send certain subject matters to one of my writing buddies because I know that the particular subject matter would not sit well with her. But yet other stories I know would work well and she'd be really into them. But do remember that Too many eyes on a manuscript can be a good thing because not everyone's going to have the same point of view. In fact, you'll be lucky if everybody has the same point of view. It's too many cooks in the kitchen, but no chefs, and you don't have a banquet. Ultimately, the decision is yours on how to deal with your manuscript. Critique partners and beta readers will give you all the feedback you want, but if none of it resonates with you, don't do it. It's your name on the cover, not theirs. So how do we find critique partners and beta readers? Well, connect with other writers in your local writing community. I'm fortunate that I'm in a very active writing society, a very active writing locality. Christchurch, New Zealand's got lots of writing groups, but I know there are some people out there that are in areas that are completely isolated. But that's okay. Reach out on Facebook. I know some people are going, eek, Facebook. Facebook has got a lot of issues. Yeah, okay, I get it. Security, not a problem. But the writing community on Facebook is incredibly strong. And there are a significant number of writing groups where everybody's actually they're lovely and nice and willing to give you feedback and help you along this path. Some groups are better than others, but that's okay. Connect with other writers on Goodreads. I've heard some good things about Goodreads in terms of those writers groups. I've also heard some bad things. Connect with writers. Join the CP match that's on Twitter or the like. During the Pitch Wars season, and Pitch Wars is a writing contest that's an annual contest about where you're trying to get a mentor to help you with your writing. During that Pitch Wars season, there are many writers out there looking for critique partners and beta readers. They're everywhere. So that's a good time of the year to reach out and go, hey, I need somebody want to help. You can also join critiquing sites. I myself have used scribophile.com and one of my writing partners has used critiquecircle.com. These are both reputable sites with a lot of valuable feedback. Advertise on writers forums. You've got the Pitch Wars Pro boards. You've got the Absolute Right Writer Cooler. There are so many different writers forums out there. But what you're going to do with any critique partner that you start looking in or beta reader, you're going to do what they call critique partner dating. This is particularly useful with the critique partners. Communication is the key. Okay? If they are not responding in a timely manner, you know what? They're not the type of person you want to be working with. Can you understand their emails? Are their emails or their messages an essay? Do you really need that information? Look at the way they communicate. Does their personality fit with yours? Do they have likes and dislikes that you resonate with? This is all important information. You're going to start with chapter swaps. So you're going to look at a couple of words, and it might be only looking at 5,000 words. But what you're going to do is you're going to assess their writing. Do you like their writing style? Are you interested in the story? Are you able to provide useful feedback? And would you actually continue reading the story? Remember, you're going to potentially be reading this story multiple times. When it comes to their assessment back on your writing, did they give that feedback in a timely manner? Is the feedback useful? Is the feedback in a way that you actually like, that it gives you information, or is it just absolutely soul destroying? Again, you need to know this information because you're trying to figure out, can you work with this person on a long-term basis? After you've done your chapter swaps, you're going to progress to longer lengths of works. Again, is it timely communication? Is it useful feedback? Is the writing still something that you want to read, or has it taken a road that you're like, yeah, maybe not? Remember at all times that this is a two-way street. Both parties involved have to feel like they're getting something out of the relationship. And if they're not, that's the time to call it quits. I need to say this right now. Finding a critique partnership that can last years is really hard to find. Many of them fall apart before finishing the manuscript. Remember, you're doing chapter by chapter and you're going to progress to longer and longer and longer works. Most of them that I have ever been involved with will survive anywhere between a few chapters and maybe a single manuscript. To take it past that single manuscript and into multiple manuscripts, that's really, really hard to find somebody that will do that. I have one. That tells you how hard they are. And I have been working and writing for a fiction for over 10 years. And I have one critique partner that has lasted the distance and is willing to work with me on multiple manuscripts. Long-term beta readers, however, is a lot easier to find, mainly because they're working with the final manuscripts. It's gone through all that editing, and often they can come from trusted fans. So if you've actually built up a fan base, you can build up what they call a street team, where they are getting the manuscripts or an ARC copy before it's out there, and they will help you market it. It's a wonderful thing to have. Finding those long-term beta readers, yeah, that's not so hard. Long-term critique partners, yeah. Just a final word about working with editors, critique partners, and beta readers. This is generic across the board advice. Your work is yours. You get the final say, mostly. In a future episode, we'll talk about what it's like to work with editors at a publishing house, because you don't necessarily get 100% of the final say in that situation, but for the most part, you do. That's important to remember. All comments, good or bad, can provide you useful insight, and we will talk about the feedback and type of feedback that you can do and how to process it in a future episode. When you get the reports from, you get that feedback report, don't rush to make all the changes. Stand back, because the suggestions that have come in may not be the best for your manuscript. Only you can make that decision. And sometimes what somebody has suggested is not the right choice, but they've highlighted an issue that does need to be looked at. The industry is incredibly subjective and ever-changing. The feedback that somebody gets, it'll be completely different coming from somebody else. Two people will like the manuscript, but for different reasons. Or one person will love it, and one person will absolutely despise it. It's incredibly subjective. You need to choose a variety of people to work with when you're working with editors, critique partners, and beta readers. They need to have different backgrounds. You're going to have writers, experts, genre readers. You need a different set of eyes for different reasons, but not too many eyes, because remember, too many cooks in the kitchen, not enough chefs, and we don't have a banquet. In our next video, we're going to talk about how to handle feedback. What do you do with it? Somebody says, I liked your story, but, when the comments are just mean, what do you do? We're going to talk about all of that. That video should be available for you in the next couple of days. In the meantime, if you have any questions about this or any of the other episodes that we've had in the past, please feel free to reach out. You can contact me on Twitter, and that's at blackwolf_ed, or you can find me on Facebook, and that's Black Wolf Editorial, or you can drop me a line on my website, and that's blackwolfeditorial.com. Alternatively, if you're interested in my personal projects, you can contact me through Twitter, and that's at Judy L. Moore, or you can find me on my website, and that's judylmoore.com. Meanwhile, I look forward to helping you take your writing to the next level.